Hey everybody, welcome to the webinar Masterclass today. I'm going to give everybody maybe a couple more minutes to get all logged on and we will get started shortly. And so hold tight and we will start in just a couple moments. All right, so let me just get everything ready. I'll share my screen and we'll jump into today's masterclass. So I appreciate everybody hopping on. I don't know if we had a really big announcement yesterday. We officially launched our Grant AI tool. I'm not sure if any of you were able to attend that webinar, but it's pretty exciting that we can kind of talk about it now. I know we've kind of alluded to it here and there over the last couple classes, but now we can actually show you how our AI tool works, and that's actually what we're going to cover today. So if if you were on the webinar yesterday, you kind of got a little bit of a glimpse into it, and we're going to kind of dive into it in a little more detail today. Typically, we'll do kind of different polls that we have, and we'll start out with that actually. It's going to be a similar poll to what we did last week, but let me just pull this up and give me one moment. And typically top of mind is lead and lead generations for most agents, especially when you're new. And so this first poll is, how do you generate leads right now? You may be brand new and you haven't even started generating leads. You may have been in the business for a while and you have kind of a multitude of different lead gen options going on. And so just out of curiosity, how do you generate leads right now is our first poll. I'll give everyone a few seconds to go through this, and then we'll jump into the bulk of our masterclass today. A lot of the times we actually, a lot of these polls and quizzes that we have, the reason that we ask them is we're always trying to take feedback from users and add new tools to Annuities Genius. And so we like to kind of get data come from the front line, being kind of the users. All right, so it looks like I'll end the poll. It looks like the bulk is buying leads. We have some Google ads here and there, and then seminars as well. So all good lead gen methods. It's hard to say when it comes to lead gen. I think it's kind of a smorgasbord of efforts, because sometimes you'll find a really good method and it may, not work at sometimes. And so it's always good to try new things, unless something's always working, kind of, don't, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So again, my name is Danny Kopinga. I appreciate y'all hopping on today. If you have any questions, there's the chat. I'll go through that probably after my initial presentation. But again, I want this to be interactive, and so ask away. There's also a Q&A section on Zoom as well that you can ask as needed as well. And so I'm going to share my screen, and let's jump into this. Give me just one moment. All right, so today we are going to go into our Grant AI. So this is our new AI tool. We just officially announced it yesterday. We've actually been working on it the last few weeks in beta mode. And so if you've seen my screen, or if you were on our past master classes with Juan's screen, our screen probably looked a little bit different than yours, because we had this AI powered and it had Grant AI at the top previously, to where that was not live on typical users' accounts. And so I want to kind of dive into use case on how to use this and best practices. And the good news is it's brand new. And so I think there's kind of the sky's the limit on use case at this point with the AI tool. But As you can see, when I log in now and I go to my dashboard, basically at the very top, I have my Grant AI kind of case analysis right here where I can type in along the way. And then and I can ask questions as needed. If I go into like a client now, so if I go into this Tom client and I come into here, same thing. In the center, I have kind of my chat screen. I've kind of gone through a lot of questions with this one. So you can see, let me see if I can go to a client where I haven't done anything with the AI. Let's see if I have one that has no AI action. So yeah, basically you can see now, I haven't done any Grant AI questions on this one. And so you can see I have this customer and I can ask anything or I can get started. And so not sure. Has anyone had experience just using, ChatGPT, Gemini, any of the other ones, XAI, with the just any kind of your everyday life, whether it's with work or with anything? I mean, typically now, if you Google something, you get a Google answer that you have the AI analysis up top of the search. And so if you're using Google or any other search engine, you probably used it unbeknownst to yourself. But we've tried to make it a similar experience to where it's very easy to use. So if I comment, it's basically type the chat and it'll go and kind of do whatever research or anything that can do, any way I can use it. And you can see down below, basically, here's some kind of different ideas on what you can, how you can use it. But with it being new, and if you're already utilizing Annuities Genius, I would basically jump in and kind of just mess around with it and get used to it. I mean, there's really no wrong way to use it, and kind of try to push it to the limit. We've gone through super easy cases and we've gone through very complicated cases with different tax ramifications and looking at different fees in detail. And so far, it's done a pretty good job on being kind of a reliable tool. But it's something it learns as it goes, and so the more usage, the better, because it's basically like a brain. And if there's something that it doesn't know and it gets exposed to, it kind of strengthens it because it'll go back and kind of find that information. And so I would, if you're with on our tool already, I would use as much as possible. Well, let's go and kind of some use case scenarios on what we can do. And so let's say that I just log in for the first time and I have a customer that I have not logged in. And you can see on my screen, it has kind of a grayed out example of a case where you can basically come in and just enter that. So let's say that I am meeting with a client for the first time, and I say, I have, let's say, Don Green. Oops, let me type a little bit better. He's 56 and has a 256,000 IRA rollover. Whoops. He's looking for income when he retires at 65. Can you help? All right, so make it super simple. Let's process this case. So first, what it's going to do, I'll wait for this to load. It's going to add Don Green as a client in here. And so got Don. I just need to clarify state for product availability. So let's say that Don lives in Georgia. I can put in his phone number and email if I want later. Whether he's married, let's just say he's single right now. So I'm going to create a client. And then once I create him, it's now going to take me to the client page, and it's going to go through and start creating different options for him. And so it's basically just putting in what I've already given it. In this case, he's 56. We know that he needs income at 65. So there's a 9-year deferral. He's looking for income and it's an IRA rollover. So basically it's going through right now. It's calculating income riders. It's going through fixed annuity options in this case, since he's looking for guaranteed income. And it now will basically give me 3 recommendations. So this is very similar to what you would see at the navigator tool which you can go through, but it's basically just doing it automatically through the chat. So I don't have to go through those individual questions if I don't want to. And so now it's basically kind of giving me the analysis of everything. So a summary of what it's thinking through. Again, this is something that you can share with the client. So, or you can do it in preparation for your meeting. It's kind of up to you, but it basically gives you an explanation of what's happening. So if I do this, I'm planning on meeting with Don this afternoon later, and I do this beforehand, I can go through this, feel comfortable, and basically, if Don asks me a question, I know kind of how I got to this. And so again, this is super useful if this is the first annuity I've ever sold, or if I've been selling annuities for 20 years and I just want to simplify how I prep for my meeting. And so that's kind of the real value in it is I can hand Grand AI to, my 15-year-old son and tell him, hey, I need this, here's a scenario, and it will basically tell me exactly what to say. So we've tried to, again, make it super easy. So here's basically the different comparisons of products. It made 3 recommendations. Again, if you've used our tool similar to the Navigator, it'll go through those series of questions and it recommends 3 products. It's the same thing, but we've just, again, simplified it. I'll go through. Here's kind of the income projections, why we do this strategy, final recommendations. So basically, it's recommended this V-Star annuity, and then here's the products right here. So super easy, very clear, gives me kind of an explanation of why we did this. So I have, my compliance out of the way. I'm making sure that I've done everything suitability wise, and I can feel confident in making this recommendation that it's basically explained how we're getting there. So that's, one scenario on how you can use it. I guess I'll pause right there. Any questions up to this point on anything that I've gone through with the AI tool? All right, so no questions so far. All right, good. That's good. So again, simplicity is key when it comes to what we've tried to do on this. And so you can see we've tried to make it very, very easy to follow. So now once I get to this point, what can I do from here? I can go into a brochure. So if I click brochure, that'll pull up the brochure. If I go into illustrate, so if I click on illustrate, it'll open up the illustration and I can go through illustration. If I click on brochure, it'll go into the brochure of the actual annuity. And so very, very simple to use. So let's say that can you compare the two bonus product with a 5 at 65? Yeah. So any bonus products, anything like that, similar to what you could do the income calculator where you can do a comparison, you can do all that. So let's say that I wanted to say, can you which of these products has the lowest fee? All right, so let it think. It's doing an analysis. It's doing a fee comparison. So basically, it'll now label it all out, and now it'll give me a chart of fees. So again, if you know someone, that's going to ask about fees beforehand, or you just want to know yourself, I can basically do a fee comparison right here. Again, I could do this with the other tool. I could do this with Annuities Genius previous to the AI tool. I would just have to make a couple extra clicks and kind of do the comparison. Now I can just ask and it pops up in front of me. And so now here's my fee comparison. So basically it looks like the winner is V-Star from what it's given to me, max fee to base fee. So pretty straightforward with that. And so again, really easy to use. Simplicity is kind of, again, what we're really pushing when it comes to that. And so now at this point, I can say, which of these options has a e-app? And we'll see with this one. It's going to go through. Now, again, the e-application process is going to be limited to also going to be kind of dependent on which IMO you're working with, because we have to sync up to the Firelight is basically the e-app source that we use. But this at least gives you an idea. And so let's say that, you're like, you want to, simplify your process as much as possible and do a lot of e-application. You can connect with your IMO and push them to sync up their IMO to, or excuse me, their Firelight to our Firelight, so that is possible. So it looks like these are the ones that do e-app options, and I'm there. So let's go through like a potential sales objection now, because it's not just going to make recommendations on just the product and the case in general. It can also help with, it can also ask, you can also help with objections that the client may give you. So let's say that let's say they say, let's see, let me think of a common objection. I mean, there's a lot of them, but let's say client objection is let's see. I mean, this is kind of just a softball one, but let's say client objection he doesn't want any market risk. Obviously, we know he's an FIA, so there is little, but this will just be kind of an example, and we'll go through another one. Doesn't want any market risk. Well, let's see what it says on this one. All right, so obviously we know that in a fixed annuity, there is no market risk. And so again, it just kind of staking it out. So again, this is something that you can do for your own education, but also know beforehand, what are things that I may or may not run into when I'm meeting with a client, and it just makes it super easy to use. And so right here, can you compare, can we compare best index growth to account value? Yeah, so I'm just going to copy and paste that and see what it says. What about index? Your money not invested. So here's basically all the, so again, this is pretty, I mean, if someone asked me the question, like, hey, I don't want any market risk, I would probably answer this very simply where, yeah, you're good. There's no market risk. This is basically going through it in detail to, on kind of a breakdown. So if I now say what the question was by Wallace, just copy and paste that in here. It's not gonna let me paste it, so I'll just type it in. Can you compare best index growth to account value? It may want me to tell them which index, but let's see what it says if I just say generally speaking. All right, so guaranteed income versus pure growth approach, no rider fees, maximum account value. So here's the guaranteed income breakdown. And then here is the pure index growth maximum account value. And it's back testing these products right here. So account fee, surrender period, side by side. And it's basically giving you a breakdown. So here's projections, income base, account value. It's basically going through kind of each of these. Pure growth, account value, no income guarantee, withdrawal rate, critical differences. So it's basically kind of just side by side giving you the pros and cons on both of those so that you can compare. This is actually a pretty detailed comparison. I actually haven't done any of these comparisons, so this is the first time I've used it for this. So I'm going to just read through this as we're going through this live, but I mean, this is pretty good. This is a pretty compelling. I'm actually impressed on this one. So you can see kind of the breakdown that it's doing in comparison, but it's also showing kind of the risk difference with some of the yes, with some of the yeah, so basically you have a potential 85,000 in account value worth the guaranteed income. And then it's doing the breakdown over time. So this is, I'm not gonna lie, this is actually pretty impressive. I like this. So this is pretty cool. Good question though, that on the Wallace that you asked, because this is a pretty good example. But I mean, again, I'm actually gonna give this one a thumbs up because I like this one. Now, if I wanted to go into like a client-facing report, as you can see below, so we've gone through like a pretty comprehensive breakdown for the client. So if I'm doing this to, if I'm doing this to present to the client, I can download a report, and basically it's going to have kind of a PDF that it will spit out that I can go through all of this as needed. And so I'm not going to go into too much more of this one because you kind of get a pretty good idea. So you can basically see in, I don't know, the last 10 minutes or so, if I scroll up, we've kind of covered a decent amount just from basically the first question on the customer's situation, and then the follow-up question on fees, and then the third question on comparison. And it provided this much information. So I mean, that's pretty good. So again, if you're newer to selling annuities or just kind of getting into it, like it's, it's your focus is on life or life insurance, or you're doing, Medicare or anything like that, and you may not have, consistent annuity business, this is super helpful because you can just put it in and it gives you, kind of makes you sound like an expert in 10 minutes. So that's actually I like that. That's pretty cool. So again, I can use this at pretty much any point within Annuity Genius. So if I'm in the calculator or if I'm in doing a simulation and I just need, more help or more clarification, I can check and go into more detail and kind of ask along the way, ask additional questions along the way. Again, if you are on Annuities Genius, I would just do a couple test cases and just run through this. Or if you have a client in mind, kind of go through it and test it out and kind of ask follow-up questions and follow-up questions and follow-up questions, because I think you're going to find it super useful and hopefully educate you as better as well as a advisor or an agent. So if someone does ask like a hard question or hard objection, you kind of know that beforehand, or if they ask you, you can just type it in with them and be like, hey, let's find out. And it's kind of you're kind of doing it as an exercise with that client to kind of make sure that they feel totally comfortable in what you're doing. So again, how I got there is I'm at my dashboard. When I log in, I can type it into this analysis at the very start. Let's say that something happened and I got out of this page and I want to go back to that Don Green that we were just working on. You can see he's in my CRM. So either from the dashboard, if I go into CRM, he's going to be the first case that I just worked on. I'll click on Don Green, and then it basically takes him right here. So it has kind of his overview of his what I put in so far. And then again, it's preloaded everything that we just went through. So if I need to go back and kind of go through my notes and get a refresher real quick, I can do that. Or if I want to go back and be like, okay, we talked about this last time, let's actually dive into this, this VSTAR product, kind of dive into more detail to transition to close, I can pull it up and go into that product right here. So we'll probably, with these master classes over the next couple weeks, we're probably going to dive into more case-by-case scenarios, specifically utilizing Grant AI and how it works with the tool in general, and how you can adopt it into your everyday use in your business. Because ultimately, kind of what we want to do is add value to you as an agent, so that it's making you better, it's helping you service your clients better, and it's just simplifying your process. So you don't have to do a ton of prep time on finding, product research or anything else. It's just a matter of typing in their scenario. Here's the products, you kind of going through that, feeling confident in, what you present to your client, and hopefully, helps you do better at your job and, close more deals. And so that's what I really wanted to cover today. As we get close to wrapping things up, are there any questions, any additional questions that anybody has with with anything that we covered today, or questions in general. Yeah, I can, so it looks help if we had one about Roth conversions. Yeah, we can cover, Roth conversions, on another, on maybe our next, masterclass, and dive into that in more detail, because that's one that I'd want to kind of spend some good amount of time in, because that, I think that's top of mind for a lot of people. I know that there's a lot of agents that we work with that's kind of their bread and butter, that they're working on Roth conversions. And I'd like to spend some more time kind of diving in that one more detail. Um, Email marketing, I mean, it can put it can create emails, right? Emails to send out. So it's not going to automate any kind of drip campaigns or anything like that. But um, I can say, hey, can you create an email? Can you, let's see if I come over here. Can you create a email for this client? It'll create basically a outline of an email that you can send out specifically to this scenario. And again, this is kind of the outline, so it kind of gives you a breakdown of everything that I can copy and paste. I'll wait for this. So this is going to be pretty detailed, as you can see, and you can ask it to simplify it if needs be as well. Can we discuss moving a client from one annuity to another that fits them better? Absolutely. That's a big part of most people's business. Again, I won't have today. We're kind of time is getting close to being up. I won't be able to go into that, but definitely, what we have on our calendar kind of on our in the future is going through Roth conversions, and then we will talk about moving from different annuities. You can actually do like comparisons. So if you have their old annuity information, it'll do you can compare it with what they could potentially move into. So again, it makes the analysis, a side-by-side comparison, really easy. So yeah, here's basically the whole email right here. And again, this gives you kind of initial outline. You can ask for different versions of it. But yeah, I appreciate everybody hop on today. I hope this was useful. I will point out that these are posted to our YouTube channel. And so if you go to our YouTube channel, just go to YouTube, type in Annuities Genius. We post a recording of all of our master classes. Typically there's I would say a few days is delay. So on this one probably won't be posted until early next week. But if you have to cut out early, or you wanted to go back and go through different topics we went through in the past, that's a great resource to check out any of our past master classes, is our YouTube channel. Again, just go to YouTube and type in Annuities Genius, and you'll see our page pop up. But again, I appreciate everyone hopping on this. We do these every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific. It's myself, Danny, or Juan. We kind of switch back and forth week to week. And so I hope you find value in this, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday. All right, everybody, have a good one. Thank you.